One of the greatest pains many people experience in life is constantly comparing themselves with others. It quietly steals happiness and replaces it with self-doubt. We often find ourselves thinking, why is she so successful while I'm still struggling? Or why is his life so much better than mine? These thoughts seem normal at first, but they slowly create a deep feeling of dissatisfaction. Truth is, when we compare our journey with someone else's, we forget one very important fact. Every person is walking on a completely different path. No two lives are the same, and no two journeys follow the same direction. Yet we still measure our worth using someone else's achievements. Imagine a fish looking at a bird flying high in the sky and wishing it could do the same. The fish might spend its entire life feeling useless because it cannot fly. But what it fails to realize is that it possesses an extraordinary ability of its own. It can swim through the vast ocean with freedom and grace. In the same way, many people ignore their own unique strengths simply because they are too busy admiring someone else's talents. Instead of recognizing their own potential, they begin to believe they are not good enough. In today's world, this problem has become even more intense because of social media. Every day we see pictures of success, luxury, and achievements from other people's lives. We scroll through images of promotions, expensive lifestyles, perfect bodies, and big accomplishments. Gradually, without even realizing it, we begin to compare our everyday life with someone else's highlight reel. This habit slowly convinces us that our own progress is small or insignificant. When a person repeatedly thinks this way, it begins to affect their emotions and mindset. Confidence weakens, motivation fades, and a feeling of sadness quietly grows inside. Over time, this constant comparison can push someone into deep disappointment and hopelessness. That is exactly why the story you are about to hear matters so much. It is for anyone who has ever looked at someone else's life and thought, I will never be as good as them. If you listen carefully, you may discover a simple truth that can completely change the way you see yourself and your future. In a small village located near a busy town, there lived a boy named Ethan. The village itself was peaceful, surrounded by fields and a large, beautiful forest that stood quietly beside it. The people in the village lived simple lives, and most of them knew each other well. Among them, Ethan was known as a hardworking and kind-hearted boy. He always tried to do the right thing and put effort into whatever task he was given. However, despite his good nature and dedication, there was one habit that constantly troubled his mind and prevented him from feeling truly happy. Ethan had developed the habit of comparing himself with everyone around him. Whenever he looked at others, instead of appreciating them or learning from them, he immediately began to measure his own worth against theirs. For example, in school, he had a friend named Liam who always achieved the highest grades in class. Every time the results were announced and Liam's name appeared at the top, Ethan would quietly think to himself, I wish I were as intelligent as him. Instead of feeling motivated, he would feel discouraged, as if he could never reach that level. In the same way, Ethan's neighbor Ryan belonged to a wealthy family. Their house was large and impressive, and they seemed to have everything they needed. When Ethan saw Ryan living such a comfortable life, he would sigh and think, if only I had money like him. Even small situations triggered the same thoughts. When he saw someone running faster than him, or performing better in sports, he would immediately question himself and wonder why he was not equally talented. These repeated comparisons slowly filled Ethan's mind with negativity. Instead of focusing on improving himself, he spent most of his time thinking about how others were better than him. As days passed, this habit began affecting his studies, his confidence, and even the way he enjoyed life. Activities that once made him happy no longer felt exciting, because his mind was always busy measuring his abilities against others. Deep inside, he started believing something very painful, that no matter how hard he tried, he would never be as good as the people around him. As time passed, these thoughts began to grow heavier inside Ethan's mind. What started as small comparisons slowly turned into constant self-doubt. Whenever he sat down to study, instead of concentrating on his books, his mind would drift toward the success of others. He would remember Liam's perfect grades or Ryan's comfortable life and immediately feel discouraged. The more he thought about it, the more he believed that no matter how much effort he put in, he would never reach the same level. This belief quietly started affecting every part of his life. His confidence became weaker day by day, and the things that once brought him joy slowly lost their meaning. Even when he tried to work harder, the negative voice inside his mind would whisper that it was useless because someone else was always better. As a result, Ethan stopped enjoying his studies, his hobbies, and even the simple moments of daily life. Most of the time, he felt stuck in a cycle of frustration and sadness, constantly thinking that he would always remain behind others. One afternoon, something unusual happened in the village. A wise old man arrived and decided to stay there for a few days. The villagers warmly welcomed him because he was known for his wisdom and the thoughtful advice he often shared with people. Everyone respectfully called him Grandpa Joe. Whenever someone had a problem or felt confused about life, they would sit with him and listen to his words. Somehow, his calm voice and simple explanations always helped people see things more clearly. News about his arrival quickly spread throughout the village, and many people went to meet him. Ethan also heard about Grandpa Joe and felt a small spark of hope inside him. He had been carrying his worries for a long time and desperately wanted someone to help him understand why he felt so unhappy all the time. Gathering his courage, he walked up to the old man one evening. With a heavy heart, Ethan explained his problem honestly. He said that he worked hard and tried to do his best, but whenever he saw someone doing better than him, a deep sadness filled his heart. He told Grandpa Joe that it felt as if he would never become as successful or capable as the people around him. After listening carefully, Grandpa Joe simply smiled gently and said, "Come to the oldest tree in the village tomorrow morning. It is where you will find the answers you are looking for." The next morning, Ethan woke up earlier than usual. Curiosity and hope filled his mind as he walked toward the oldest tree in the village. The tree stood tall at the edge of the forest, its wide branches stretching across the sky like a silent guardian of the land. When Ethan arrived, he saw that Grandpa Joe was already there, calmly waiting beside the tree. The old man smiled warmly and asked Ethan to look around carefully at the forest. Ethan observed the scene for a moment, and then said that he could see many different types of trees. Some were tall and strong, reaching high into the sky, while others were shorter, but full of green leaves and fruits. Some trees carried sweet fruits while others had none at all, yet together they created a peaceful and beautiful forest. Grandpa Joe nodded, and then gently asked Ethan to imagine something. He said, "What if the apple tree started comparing itself to the coconut tree and complained about being too short? And what if the coconut tree felt jealous because it could not grow sweet fruits like apples?" Ethan immediately laughed and said that such thoughts would sound completely foolish, because each tree had its own purpose and its own special qualities. Hearing this response, Grandpa Joe smiled again and explained that life works in the same way. Every person in the world is like one of those trees in the forest. Each individual is given different strengths, talents, and opportunities. Some people may grow fast in one area, while others shine in something entirely different. The apple tree is valuable because of its fruit, while the coconut tree is admired for its height and strength. Neither one needs to become the other in order to be important. Then Grandpa Joe walked with Ethan toward a nearby pond. In the clear water, many fish were swimming freely, while above them, a bird flew gracefully through the sky. Grandpa Joe pointed at them and asked Ethan to imagine if the fish wished it could fly like the bird. Ethan quickly replied that such a wish would make no sense, because fish were created to swim and birds were created to fly. At that moment, Ethan suddenly understood the lesson. Grandpa Joe looked at him kindly and said that, in the same way, people should not try to become someone else. Everyone has their own path and their own abilities. Instead of wasting time comparing ourselves with others, we should focus on discovering and improving our own strengths. Those simple words changed something deep inside Ethan. From that day forward, he stopped measuring his life against others. Instead, he began working on his own talents with patience and dedication. Slowly, his confidence returned and life started to feel exciting again. Years later, through hard work and belief in himself, Ethan built a successful business and became an inspiration for the entire village. Whenever someone asked him the secret of his success, he would smile and repeat the lesson he had learned long ago. If a fish tries to fly, it will always feel like a failure, but if it focuses on swimming, it can one day rule the entire ocean.